You're listening to the American Dad Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life. When it comes crashing down, it hurts.
What's going on, American dads? How are you? It's been a while. I just, you know what? I've been trying to prep for this podcast for a little while now, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. And I'm still unprepared, but it's 1:30 in the morning. I feel like a late night DJ right now, sipping on coffee. Have no business doing that, considering I got to get up pretty early tomorrow. But I hope your week is going well and everything's good. I'm still rocking this solo. I hope you guys are still enjoying the show. Yeah, I guess I'll just start off by telling you guys what's been going on. Most recently, my my kids finished up their soccer, and I did make it to it, and we had a good time. But I won't talk too much about that yet. That's more towards the end. Let's see here. I saw a couple movies with the family over the past couple weeks. One of them was Jack Frost, and I thought that was actually a pretty good movie. A nice little spin on the whole, Tooth Fairy and Santa and all that kind of good stuff. I thought they did a good job with it. I don't think they promoted it well enough. I certainly didn't, take my kids out and see it at the theater or anything, but we ended up watching it on the Apple TV, and yeah. And then what's funny is my son had me watching Are We There Yet with what is his name, Ice-T. I don't know, one of those rappers that's doing acting now. And that movie, you know what? Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. I don't know if you haven't seen it yet. You might want to see it. It actually was okay. I wouldn't say don't go see it. You definitely get some entertainment value of it. It was a B+ movie, and so the kids and I watched that the other day. We have movie night every Friday. We try to eat pizza. Sometimes we just don't have the stomach for pizza, so we end up like going to get some Subway or something. It's just kind of something that the kids can look forward to. I mean, Carter literally asked us today. Today's Monday. He goes, "Is it movie night?" Like it's just something for him to look forward to. So that's my little thing. And yeah. Anyways, it's been a crazy week. A lot of things in the news. I don't have cable. Have I told you guys that yet? I'll probably mention it more times than once. And so I catch things like on Facebook and, or on the news if I ever have the news on the radio. But I don't catch a lot of the junk that's thrown out there. Like there's something going on with the IRS right now. I had to look it up on the internet because I'm so out of the loop. And I'm a happier person for it. But anyways, some hometown news. I come home from work the other day and all the cars are there. And I go in the house, and the house is real quiet. And I'm going, "Hello, anybody home?" No answer. I'm yelling upstairs, "Anybody home?" Still no answer. I'm like, all right, well, I'll make myself a little peanut butter and jelly. So this is kind of like my dinner, lunch. I don't know. I was home a little bit earlier. And I'm like, well, I must be on a walk or something. And so I go find my friends on my phone. I look on my phone, and it shows that they're nearby. And then as I'm looking around the house, I realize that my wife left her phone in the house. I'm like, okay, now I'm kind of getting worried. And I go, let me just take a stab in the dark. Usually they go down to the nearby park. And so I ended up hopping in the car and going down there. And sure enough, the family was there. And like, hey, what's going on? Blah, 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 whatever. Watch the kids play with the kids. And, as I'm there, I'm like, I got a little worried about you. I'm just like, well, why would you get worried? I left you a note. I'm like, where did you put this note? I go, I made a sandwich on the counter. There was no note on that counter. And that's, when you leave a note, what do? You put it on the counter, you put it on the fridge, you put it in an area where, you tape it to the door somewhere so somebody's going to pay attention, right? Like, anyway, so I go, wife, where was this note? And she says, I put it on the floor. Serious, wife? You put the note on the floor? And she says, yeah, I figured you'd look down and see it as you were walking to the kitchen. Wife, when have I ever looked for a note on the floor? When did we start doing that? And she just thought it was just like she was doing something brilliant, but she clearly was not. And so, anyways, by the end of the night, I took a little notepad and I wrote something like "I love you," and I just put it on the floor. And of course, what does she do? She sees it on the floor because now she's paying attention to it because she put something on the floor. Whatever. Women communicate differently, obviously, than men. I just, there's a common sense factor. Ladies, if you're listening, don't put notes on the floor. I don't know. Somebody sympathize with me, please. Anyways, moving on. My wife also started something called the 90-day challenge, and bless her heart, she is always thinking of me. It's not like she just starts these things and just does them. She always has me in mind, like, hey, you want to do this 90-day challenge? I'm like, really? What do we got to do? And so she tells me that, there's like these things you have to, exercises you have to do over 90 days. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it for you. I'll do it with you. Yeah, sure. And this was yesterday. And so yesterday came and went, and I did not start the 90-day challenge. So here we are today. My wife makes me this, last night she makes me this oatmeal stuff that she eats every morning that's with protein, and I don't know, whatever. It didn't taste very good this morning. And then she makes me this juice that I'm supposed to have for lunch. So I'm like I feel like I'm on a liquid diet again or something. Anyways, she's she text messaged me. She's like, with all the things I have to do for day one on this text message, and I'm like, wow, okay, wife. And so anyways, the day it comes to an end. I still have not started the 90-day challenge. I was busy sleeping and going to the bark, so I was kind of busy, as you can tell, right? And I get home. So finally, I finally got around to it at about 10:30 at night. I'm like, all right, let me just get this over with. How hard can this be? The first challenge is to do everything's like in 50 seconds. You have to do all these little challenges in 50 seconds. And the first thing is to do squats. Do as many squats as you can in 50 seconds. Sounds easy if you exercise. I do not exercise anymore, and I'm actually sore. I was probably sore like 10 minutes after I finished. That's how bad this is, and it's very pathetic when I've come from the Army and wrestling and running extremely fast 2-minute miles and push-ups and sit-ups and the Army thing. That's what we did. We exercised every day. And we had a lot of fun on the weekends. And so anyways, I did the squats, right? And I was hurting. And then you had to do dips and no sit-ups, lunges. And then they have some funky names for half the other little things you have to do. Whatever. When it was all said and done, I was in pain, and the amount of things that I did in 50 seconds, the push-ups, the squats, pathetic. I mean, it's embarrassing. I won't even tell you these numbers. But so that's when I've started the 90-day challenge. This is day one. It's a big step. You can go ahead and applause. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And so we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can get through the 90 days. Apparently there's quite a bit of people who've gone through the 90 days, and I don't know what their diet was, but they've lost 30 pounds. So who knows, man? If I lose 30 pounds, yeah, it'd be pretty dashing. So anyways, so we'll go ahead and move along. So there was this thing, let me cue up all my fancy intros. Lots been going on in the news. I've been catching a little bit of it. And so let's just go ahead and get into this. And see who else was there. Was Abercrombie, right? We got Abercrombie in there.
This week in Dad News.
See
Yeah, boy.
There you go. Oh, and by the way, since we talked about movies and I just totally dropped the ball.
Family movies. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. So back to Dad News. Abercrombie and Fitch, this guy, he's what a knucklehead, man. I caught it because a dad blogger just lit this dude up, and everybody's more in touch with these news things than I am, and I'm always catching it kind of like secondhand, not from news, but like from somebody who read it from the news who passes it on to me. And if you too have been oblivious to Abercrombie and Fitch, the what is it? The CEO, right, of this brand, Jeffries is his last name, I guess, said in quotes, candidly, we go after cool kids. He's referring to the brand. That's who they're trying to attract. We go after we go after the attractive all-American kids with the great attitude and lots of friends. He said in the article, a lot of people don't belong in our clothes, and they can't belong. Everybody's probably already heard this. So, being in school in general, right? Like, it's already hard to fit in and where you belong, and you have your core friends, and people aren't necessarily segregated, but they're just kind of like in little classes. There's the jocks, and to this day, these things still exist. They got the rockers, the guys who listen to heavy metal music, and they stick in their group, and I'm sure there's some new groups that have formed since I've been in high school. People who I don't know. I don't even like to classify them, but everybody's just kind of got their own little niche that they're in, and that's just going to happen naturally. But when you're when you're a brand, and if you're gonna do this, right? If you're gonna exclude people, by God, don't admit it. Don't. You're basically just digging yourself a grave. This guy, and it's funny because all the dad bloggers, they just attack, right? Oh, mommy bloggers too. Don't get me wrong; they were after him too. But Dad on the Run blogger, he went ahead and posted a picture of Gary Busey, and then this guy Jeffries. Apparently, they look similar. The CEO looks like he's been punched in the face. He's all swollen. I don't know. Maybe it's been Botox or something. This guy is probably the last guy that should be talking about exclusion. Maybe he was. Maybe he was a kid in school who, was left out. Maybe that's why he feels the need to do that. I'm not quite sure. Somebody else posted a picture of Biff, and maybe I can post it on the video just to kind of show you some comparisons. Biff and Michael Jeffries, the Abercrombie CEO. Classic pictures, but yeah, it's just sad that that we even have to talk about excluding, especially like a company, like, oh, we're going to exclude heavy kids or kids that are unattractive. It just seems so, I don't even know, almost seems evil. You know what I mean? I think that's probably the best word. Like, would you really lose market share if you made an extra size bigger? Really? I think you'd probably attract a larger crowd. Hey, what do I know, right? And then, so what else? We had those three missing girls found after 10 years. How big of a miracle is that all went down, and that was just kind of that was a big miracle. Let's face it. And then I heard on the radio, and I was trying to find the article. I can't find it now, but it's worth mentioning. A young girl, I can't remember, she might have been in Washington, maybe that's why I heard it on the radio, but she was walking down the street. I think she was like 9 or 10 years old or something like that. And some guy in a van jumps out and says, "Hey, come here, I want to show you something. And the little girl runs from the man, runs to a house, just starts knocking on the door. The guy eventually gets spooked and takes off. I think they pick him up a little later. The cops found him or something. But the 911 dispatcher ended up, talking to him and her, and I guess, I don't know, there's a phone call out there somewhere that I don't have to share with you. But she says that 911 ended up giving her the dispatch ended up giving her an award for, I guess, just being a really bright kid and doing what her mom and dad had told her to do. And to be honest with you, how often do we still talk to our kids about, hey, don't talk to strangers, or, man, it made me remember, like, hey, I really need to make sure did I tell my kids that already? Yeah, I don't know. It's just, and then I heard another statistic, which I'll probably need to look up and verify again, but it said in that whole, spiel of, this girl did this, and, she, knocked on the door and everybody's proud of her. They said 700,000 kids, or, it was over 700,000 kids a year go missing. I mean, that's like, that's crazy. Like, and we wonder why, when I talk to parents and I'm like, these days are different, and some people don't agree, but these are different days. 700,000 kids a year? Come on, man. I mean, this should be, and then they're talking about gun control. Are you kidding me? Like, how could you even justify that? I don't know. I guess I'm kind of mixing stories here, but yeah, I mean, that's why my kids play in the backyard, and that's why we made our backyard halfway decent so they could play in the backyard safely, fenced, secure, no knucklehead, speeding down the streets, I don't know. It's just crazyville. So, anyways, we'll move on here. What else do we got here? Yeah, today, and I don't know how long this is going to go, but today I'm going to talk about kind of going back to the whole soccer thing I was just talking about. I mentioned the last podcast, and I'm not going to just talk about soccer in general, but I mentioned the last podcast. I was able to make it to make it to my kid's first game, which was really cool. And then so yeah, I went to their first practice, and then there was 4 practices, and then there was going to be 4 games, or 4 days of games. And I had really told my daughter, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be there. It's on Saturdays. I'm just gonna take the days off. I'm gonna be there for you. And after that first practice, kind of started breaking some promises. The next Saturday I had to work. I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to fit all my cases in my schedule, and so I worked that Saturday. So I missed the practice. And I'm like, okay, well, it's one practice. No big deal. I'll catch the next one. And then I made another compromise, and I had to work the next Saturday, and the next Saturday, and then I made it to the first game. And I've talked to you guys about that last week, which was great. I was so happy to be there, had a great time. And as a father, you want to be there for that kind of stuff. And then the next week, a case came in, and if you don't know, I'm a private investigator, so I have to work these cases. The clients request certain days, and I just got to be there for them, right? Or I've got to mix my schedule around, fit things in. So, yeah, so that the next Saturday came, I couldn't make it. And, the wife, how awesome she is, she made sure to kind of keep me updated. Oh, Carter's not participating, or Carter's messing around, he's not paying attention. Kids did good, whatever it is, just just got to keep me up on what's going on. Kids they lost, no big deal, or, whatever. Sending me pictures on my phone so I can kind of be there in spirit. Then the week 3 came of game time, and I had to miss that one. And I told my daughter, I'm like, and she kept telling me, like, Dad, you promised me. And I, and she didn't have to tell me that. I already felt guilty, like, because I know how important promises are to kids. It's important. And I'll pause real quick in the soccer story here. When I was a kid, and I still remember this. Oh, excuse me. My parents they wouldn't go, I promise I'm going to take you such and such. I mean, it would never be like that. It'd be like, we're going to go do such and such. We're going to go so and so. We're going to go here, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And then for one reason or another, we wouldn't go. something comes up or change of plans or whatever. And I would just be, and I know I'm not the only kid out there. I'm sure if all you adults remember back when, how you're kind of really bummed out when things didn't happen the way they're supposed to happen. Plans fell through. And to me, that was a promise. And I would give my parents a hard time. Probably more or less, my mom was probably more the brunt of the hard time, because, you want to make them feel guilty. Like, hey, come on, please, we never get to do anything, or whatever it is you say as a kid, right? I'm sure your kids tell you that now. We don't do nothing. But I still remember my mom, like, I think she had enough. Like, it's like she couldn't tell me we were going to do anything because I was going to hold her to it. And I'm a kid. Of course I'm going to, not my last name, but I mean, I'm just a kid. When you're bored or you just want to do stuff, and you get your hopes up for these trips or whatever, and they fall through, you're just heartbroken. And so my mom I remember her finally saying, you know what, I'm not promising you anything anymore, and I still remember, like, and I don't think she really did. I mean, it was just kind of like everything from that point on was probably more or less, well, we'll see what happens. But the point of that story, I mean, it's not like we didn't do anything. My parents took me all kinds of places. Just let me, in case your mom and dad are listening, I know we did stuff. I know. But we did a lot of stuff. It was just the whole promise thing that was, it breaks your heart as a kid. So back to the soccer. So I was already feeling guilty about it. I didn't need my daughter to tell me this, but what she did was she kind of confirmed it, like, Dad, you promised, and you're missing these things. And I go, I know. She's ended up, as we're approaching the last game of the season, she, are you going to be there? I said, yes, honey, I'm going to be there. I promise. And she said, well, that's what you said before. I said, I know. And so, like, I swear it was like the game's on Saturday. And so the Wednesday before, I get a call. Hey, can you work Saturday? Nope, can't work. Nope, can't do it. So that was like one client, right? And then another client calls me. Yeah, Andrew, we got this rush case. I need you to work this Saturday. I can't go. I can't work for you. I'm sorry. I've got other things I cannot miss. And then it happened again for the third time, and I luckily I didn't end up losing the case. I was able to move it to another Saturday and move schedules around, and so I didn't lose the potential work. But I had to tell him, no, I can't work it this Saturday. I know you want to work this Saturday. I can't do it. And I felt like it was this huge test to, I wasn't trying to lose clients or anything, but I was going to keep my promise. And so we went to the game and we had a good time. The kids it was like a doubleheader. They had to play 2 games, and grandma came out, aunt and uncle came out, the cousins. And so my kids were real excited about that they got to have their, it's like a big audience, and, to have their, family there. And so it was good. And then so at the end of it all, which was cut, and here's another thing. I don't know what's going on with maybe. I don't hope this isn't how it is in every sport, but at the end of the, last game, I think my son finished first. And so they go up there. I go, okay, we're going to hand out trophies. And the coach goes up there and all these trophies are in a box. And I'm expecting like the coach to be like, Johnny Smith, come on up. Let's talk about you for a second. And, like Johnny Smith hasn't done so well this year. And I just really appreciate his commitment to the soccer team. Something like that, right? Like just a little bit of talk, after this little, the season, I mean, hell, when I was in bowling, I mean, they said something like, Andrew, come on up. Yeah, you did a great job this season, pat me on the back and send me on my way, something. And it was like this. Joey, here's your trophy. Johnny, here's your trophy. Susie, here's your trophy. And then they'd all they got their trophy, they lined up, and then that was it. They took a team picture, but it was like, it meant nothing. It was like, I felt bad. I'm like, I make it a little special. I know they're just participation trophies. I know that none of the soccer games mean anything. They're all just learning the basics, but dude, come on, make it just a little special, And these are my kids' first trophies, right? At least as far as I can remember. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the norm. Let me know. I'll be prepared going forward in all the other sporting events we do. But come on, man, just something, you know. I don't know. Anyways, so that's my little broken promises thing. And so towards the end of it, I think it was the same day. Oh yeah, by the way, my son, right? He gets his trophy and he must have held on to it for like 4 hours, like in his hands, wouldn't let go of it. And he'd be like, "Hey, Dad." I go, "Yeah, Carter." He's like, "Hey, you wanna watch me put my trophy up in my room?" I said, "Yeah, we'll do that a little bit later. I promise. I'll go up there with you and I'll watch you put your trophy up in your room." He's like, "Yeah, I know where I'm gonna put it." Oh, you do, huh? Yeah, yep. Is it gonna be on your dresser? Nope. It's gonna be on my little box thing. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Finally, I got him to let go of it, and I said, "Carter, you gotta put that somewhere, son. You can't carry it all day. You gotta break it." And he ends up putting it on this table in the front room, kind of like where everybody can see. Oh, so you want to put it there? I go, that's a pretty safe place, Carter. That's a good place. And I go, all right, well, we'll take it upstairs later. And so a little bit later, it was a couple hours later or something. I was like, "Hey, Carter, you ready to take that trophy upstairs?" No, it looks good right there, Dad. Looks good right there. Okay, son, we'll leave it there. So I think it stayed there for a couple days. He eventually took it upstairs. I didn't get to see him. He took it up there without me seeing him, but he was very proud of his trophy. And I think I still remember my real trophy when I first got one. I was very proud. I think I stared at it for hours. I don't know, but it's a big thing. Even if it's participation, it means a lot. But yeah, so my daughter is either the same day or later that like the next day. We were just sitting there. It was like we weren't even talking about soccer, and she just is like, "Hey, Dad," and I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Hey, thanks for coming." I was like, "Of course." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was a little worried that you weren't going to come because you didn't come those other times. And then I'm just thinking in my head, like, "See, Andrew, you're right. You were right to be worried about that because the daughter cares. This means a lot to her." So yeah, man. I mean, if there's anything you learn from me, from my I consider this a huge dad fail for me. I'm sure I'll fail. I'm gonna fail a lot more, but it's try to keep those promises because it's more than just going to the sporting events. It's when you tell them you're going to do something, you tell them you're going to go somewhere. Try to think back to when you were a kid and how much it kind of broke your heart. And of course, kids got to learn that, but I don't know, man. I just I don't know if I want them to learn that from me. Maybe somebody else break their heart, not their dad. So I don't know. Good times. So yeah. What actually that was my main spiel, and it's only been 28 minutes, and you guys are getting ripped off. So I did have kind of a backup plan on this podcast. It's been about 4 months. I think I talked about it on one of the podcasts with Chris and Luca, but it's about play dates, right? And I got to thinking about this. Like, I guess in my mind, when I thought of play dates, I thought of like moms taking like the younger ones, like the preschool kids, or maybe even younger, like the toddlers, to the park, and they'd have a play date with the moms. But you know what? That's not the case anymore, and it kind of caught me off guard. So when I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is like the new norm. Dads going on play dates with other dads, or maybe I'm just not used to it, or I don't know. I'm getting used to it though, and so I mean, especially when I'm home with my son. But yeah, my first play date, it was kind of by accident, and dads, you got to try this if you haven't done it, and you got kids that, maybe they're not starting school yet, and you know another dad with a kid that age. It means a lot. But so my first play date was kind of accident. I was talking to a mother of a child that went to daycare with my son, and the daycare had closed down, But they still took one of their other kids to the same school, and we were just chit chatting about how the preschool had closed down, or the daycare, what do you want to call it? And she says, well, you guys should go on a play date someday. You and my husband, he's not doing a lot of work right now, and he's got a lot of free time, and you guys should go do something. And I said, well, we are going to the Kids Museum today. And she's like, really? Well, I'm sure he'll want to go. And I don't know if the dad actually wanted to go, but it sounded like she was going to convince him anyway. So, needless to say, he ends up calling me, and it's like, I don't even know the guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, he ends up being a really nice guy, but it was just, it's this awkward, like, he's like, hey, we'd like to go with you. And I'm like, well, let's do this. And he ends up, we end up getting there a little bit earlier than him at this kids museum, which is, I don't think there was kids museums when we were kids either. They probably had to make them because kids can't play in the front yard anymore, right? But yes, we got there. Carter's waiting for his buddy to come, and finally they get there, and he was my son just went off and played with his buddy as soon as he got there. But then there's this time, like, you don't know this dad, right? I don't know him from Adam. I'm I know they're good people. I've got to assume, and we got to talking, and what do you do with small talk? But I think as men, we're just a little less social. It's harder for us to get to that point of trust and easy, like just easygoing talking friendship. Like I'm not gonna have the same conversation with somebody I just meet, obviously, than with my buddies maybe from the Army or my brother. Obviously, there's just that you're more comfortable. Is that comfortability factor? Is that a word? Did I just say that? I don't know. But yeah. But over time, and we ended up going to the Glass Museum about a month or two after that, and just kind of hung out and just shoot the breeze, talk about trials with our kids. And I guess the moral of the story here is, if dads, don't look at play dates as a mommy thing. It's not. Play dates could be you and your you and your 10-year-old son and your buddy's 10-year-old son going on a bike ride, just hanging out, and kind of give you a little more social time with adults, because sometimes, we go to work and then, we spend time with our family, but we're missing that adult time. We're missing that social. I don't have a lot of social interaction with adults because I'm either in my car working, or I should say adults, outside of my family, or I'm home just with the kids, right? And that's the extent of it. And sometimes I'll talk to my neighbors, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Essentially, give dad dates, or whatever you want to call it, or play dates with dads. Give that a chance. I think you'll be kind of surprised. That you'll enjoy it, and the main thing I think is that your kid can have someone to play with that he knows, and yeah. I think my daughter even wants to have play dates, but I'm like, honey, you're 8 years old. I don't know, do they call it play dates when you're 8 years old? I think you just go out and hang out with your friend, and I'm in the area or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. I'm still finding out how this dad thing work, guys. But anyway, so I guess, yeah, I'll just probably wrap this up. I don't know where I was going with that, but give dad give play dates I think it's 2:00 in the morning, I think, is the problem. So I can't gather my thoughts, and you guys are suffering, and I'm going to post this just the way it is, so that's all right. But I'm going to go ahead and let's see here.
You're listening to the American Dad Podcast.
Yeah, yes, you are. But how about we'll just go ahead and skip it to...
You're listening to the American Dad Podcast. Yeah, boy.
I still got to make an outro. I think that's the problem.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of
Thank you guys for listening, putting up with this
a real American.
show that's just all over the place.
Fight for your life.
Yeah. You guys have a good day at work. I'm working on the format. We'll work this out, guys. You guys take care. American Dad Podcast. Peace out.